In terms of side casts, Kamen Rider Geats has a very fleshed out cast that viewers can find hard not to come out of the show, at least loving one. Geats takes extra care to build up the story of the main characters and why we, as viewers, should care and love them. I talked about Ace already in my Sukiyanen video, but this video, we're going to be looking into the secondary writer and one of the more sympathetic writers in the franchise, Keiwa Sakurai. When I watched the Revice X Geats movie, the scene that stuck out with me was Vice's revival because he came back, but then he left me. I miss him. I don't want him to leave me again. When Keiwa encounters Ryuki's protagonist, Shinji Kito. Seeing this scene again and going back into Geats as well as going back into Ryuki, thank you Tokusatsu streams, I realized why this scene is so powerful, and it boils down to Shinji and Keiwa being similar in who they are as writers. Both are heroic writers put in a series where selfishness is rewarded over justice. Keiwa's ideal dream of world peace to bring back the victims of the DGP and his desire to protect his sister is completely washed away and degraded when compared to the other wishes of the DGP, including his fellow cast members. But today, we're gonna look at the wish he made where he wanted to be with Natsukawa and live with him as his partner as Kazuhito in Living With Him. Based on the manga with the same name by Miyata Towaru, Living With Him is one of the more cozier BLs I've watched. It never leads towards anything spicy or sad, but it really is the perfect series to be watching while a frog statue randomly spawns in your room while you're fighting for your life and— no, I gotta save Kekara for later, we'll get to him later. After finding out they're attending the same university together, two childhood friends, Kazuhito and Natsukawa, decide to move in together while attending university. However, little did they know, they both actually have feelings for each other and must find a way to confess their feelings and be together without making things too awkward, while also living with their personal lives and meeting with other people such as Haruna and also Natsukawa's family. As the series progresses, the slow burn really kicks in, as we see Natsukawa and Kazuhito jump between close and intimate moments and events to distancing themselves and find space to sort their crazy emotions out and be their own person. Now, to be honest, Living With Him is not the most exciting BL series I've ever watched. It is slow and more calming. Yeah, it's not the bustling city life of Sukiyanen, nor is it the nice tropical beach and beach summer-esque setting of If It's With Him with Hydration Gun Daiji. However, the setting complements it. For context, most of the time the series takes place in Natsukawa and Kazuhito's apartment. This is where we get iconic lines like, "You're warm," and "I want to kiss Kazuhito." I feel like because of the apartment being the setting, we not only don't feel a rush to go anywhere, nor does the plot need to be quickened, but have it slow down and allow these two to come together, and we get to see moments where the characters not only are able to flesh themselves out or give us more to who they are, but we also see them grow as the lead love interests. One scene I really liked and enjoyed was episode 4 when they're eating lunch together and it's just simple ramen. In the scene, the dialogue is kept very minimum, and the only dialogue I strictly remember was Natsukawa suggesting to add rice to the broth. Now, this scene feels very filler or just completely irrelevant. However, I feel like this scene establishes what's going on between them. It's not tense or hostile, nor is it comforting and relaxing. As you can see, there is some tension, specifically tension for the fact that they both like each other and they don't really know how to express it, let alone the fact they're eating together in an apartment alone, somewhat like a couple. So what this scene does to establish is not only gives us the mood on how Kazuhito and Natsukawa's relationship is going, but also gives us a moment where we can slow down, reflect on where the series is going, and enjoy the two characters just being themselves and living life for what it is. I think it's great, and I love these moments where we just see them in the apartment and have them connect to each other, be it they're talking about what plans they're going to do or what they want to do going forward with cooking. It really adds a lot more life to the series, in a series that's already calming and more soft compared to other BLs. Also, I feel like we should talk about the symbolism of the apartment. Usually when you think of apartment for a setting, it's either in a romantic or sexual connotation, or just a calm setting for others to breathe, especially in the earlier episodes. However, with Living With Him, the apartment setting is the catalyst and where the romance blossoms. Seeing them eat and have awkward conversations to then playing Blockus plush, which I found the listing on Amazon, go get it, here you go, have it, and then helping Kazuhito shower after escaping the rain and seeing him get a mini cold while Natsukawa struggles to get him in the shower. It's so simple, but can grow and develop into something nicer. In other words, the apartment symbolizes their love for each other. It symbolizes that yes, The feelings are there. However, like an apartment, it takes time and care to develop, and to rush it would do no good. One thing I also enjoy about living with him is the slow burn. In a teeth-rotting fluff series like this, I love how the pacing is slow to not only have the series go more slow and have a more comforting pace, but also to build up and show the space they had. The best moments are when Kazuhito and Natsukawa are not together and contemplating their next move, trying to give each other space, but also remembering how much they mean to each other and planning how to spend time together without ruining their crush and momentum going forward. One example is episode 5, after the camping trip where Kazuhito sacrifices hanging out with girls to spend time with Natsukawa. He goes out with friends to drink, and while he is pressed on who he likes, Eri, his friend, comes to his rescue and shows unconditional support for his crush. Speaking of, one thing I'll appreciate in living with him is the side characters. Whether it's Natsukawa's siblings helping us to bring back childhood memories and give us more edge, and by edge I mean his sister gets hurt, or Eri being a good third wheel, but also remembering that she used to date Kazuhito too. While her relationship with him has sailed and is never coming back, she can at least try to be the person to help Kazuhito develop and grow his relationship with Natsukawa. However, one of the best third wheels in a BL I've seen is Haruna, because Haruna is a genius, but also very slick. Haruna pushes for Natsukawa and Kazuhito to be together in the trolliest way possible. If you want an example of it, look at episode 4. Haruna suggests going out with Natsukawa somewhere when Natsukawa states that he is free, which prompts Kazuhito to immediately come in and challenge Haruna by asking Natsukawa to go camping and saying that he's busy. I love this, and it shows how Haruna knows about the crush and decides to push forward after this. Not only that, it pushes Kazuhito to take more of a leading role, especially as we see him more reserved in the first few episodes, which I really like. While this review is short, it's kinda like living with him. Fun and simple. I think if you want a laid-back series to watch, especially for the summer, go for it. However, if you do look at it from another angle, living with him can be unnecessarily deeper, especially when you look at the actor of Sato Ryuga and his previous role of Keiwa Sakurai. I want to state what I said earlier because I really do stand by my word. Keiwa is a hero Kamen Rider in a world where selfishness is rewarded. We see this clearly, whether between the DGP supporters funding or supporting the players for their own amusement, the Kurama Foundation wishing Neon to life simply to have a hair, or even Michinaga, whose wish is pure vengeance against those as a means to cope with his friend's death. When Keiwa joins the DGP, he's just a simple guy trying to find a stable job and look out for his sister as the sole family member alive. When he joins this, he thinks not of the possibilities of what a wish could do for him. He thinks of people like Gotokuchi, who died during the first DGP he witnessed, as well as eventually Takahito, a man who joins just to try to get his son cured from his illness, but fatally dies. He scolds Ace for his selfishness, and overall tries to comfort everyone, even when his own life is on the line, and his wish is world peace. Throughout Geats, we see Keiwa jump from being comic relief to side character who comes in clutch to responsible big brother to overall the average guy of the Geats quartet. In fact, in the Desire Royale, Keiwa rejoined not to attain a wish or defeat Michinaga, but to help assist Sarah and help her win. Keiwa is the audience. Not the audience in the DGP, but the audience, the viewers watching Geats. He is the most relatable and down-to-earth of the four, and his role helps us carry the viewer through the DGP experience. When we compare it to his role as Kazuhito in Living with Him, Sato Ryuga does the same thing as he serves as a relatable love interest who is unsure about his feelings and afraid with being upfront regarding such. Sato Ryuga depicts Kazuhito in such a down-to-earth and relatable guy that you fall in love with his performance. Yeah, it's not groundbreaking acting, but it's something that really resonates with the viewers. The little things such as how he hides the reason why he's rejected by girls so often, the way he reflects on his baseball career, or how he's always had a crush on Natsukawa. It's so cool because you know Ryuga is a master at controlling this character and making him resonate with the audience. However, Keiwa, like Kazuhito, is not all normal average man, as his struggles and pain really makes him shine in Geats. One thing I really like that it can compare with Kazuhito and Keiwa is the way Sato Ryuga expresses pain and hurt. Let me explain. Throughout Geats, Keiwa breaks down his hero and nice guy persona more and more. Keiwa comes more into terms with how unfair the DGP is, and how his dreams are nothing but idealistic in contrast to everyone else. This is exploited heavily by Kekeda, his frog sponsor. And not only does Kekeda take it so far to even mess with his sister, he finally leads Keiwa to his breaking point, having his sister die in front of his eyes. When Daichi successfully turns Sarah into a Yamato and Michinaga kills her, Keiwa is too late, and he only can watch as Sarah completely disappears in front of him, seeing him break down, and watching Kekera celebrate. One thing that always I talked about in my Sukiyanen video, is the line that Ace says, Keiwa lost the last family member alive. This shot where it just shows Keiwa literally sitting there with dread in his eyes in his apartment before the intro cuts stuck with me, because this was the same guy who wanted world peace, the same guy who wanted to revive everyone that was hurt by the DGP, the same guy that had the most selfless and kind goal in the DGP, completely broken. And this is where it leads to him becoming Bujin Sword. When Keiwa gets Bujin Sword, I want everyone to pay attention with how Sato Ryuga presents it. When we see Keiwa in this scene confronting Michinaga, he's not worried about protecting the people. He's confronting Michinaga saying, how many more people are you gonna kill? How many more lives are you gonna take? And when he transforms into Bujin Sword, it's not any cool pose like he's done before. Instead, it's just him limping over, staring soullessly and looking at Michinaga like a zombie. And I think this perfectly encapsulates how broken Keiwa is. Back then, it would have been Michinaga was the one transforming into a cool power-up and Keiwa would be scared, but that has completely gone 180 as Michinaga is taken a step back by this new power where Keiwa just looks lifelessly at Michinaga, not about protecting people, but just pure avenge, just like the Bujin Sword belt buckle. I just had to pause because I looked at Keiwa and just saw a different person, someone who was damaged and broken, and I really appreciate how much expression or lack of there is Sato Ryuga put into Keiwa in this scene. Let's compare it to how Ace got his power, where Ace got his power from his mom, and as a means to show future, hope, and desire to change the world for the better as the creation goddess, Keiwa got it out of desperation, anger, and desire for revenge. This can reflect also with how they contrast in their final forms, where Ace is completely white, symbolizing hope in the future. Keiwa's Bujin Sword is pure jet black and green, symbolizing anger, hatred, and rage just going through his body. Bujin Sword symbolizes Keiwa's anti-villain arc, or at least what it says in the Writer Wiki, and shows how he no longer is the nice guy anymore. He is a completely selfish person that demands everyone lives up to his idea of what a good human being is. And not only that he wants everyone to be at peace and bring everyone back that was hurt, but anyone that dares disagree with him and his methods to obtain this peace and tranquility is a threat, and reasoning with such is irrelevant. Keiwa abandons any sense of reality and patience and instead becomes a damned hero who becomes his own moral compass. I love this part of Geats because not only does it show how corrupt and manipulative both the DGP and the viewers are in torturing the players, but it also gives Keiwa a great spotlight. It shows how far Keiwa has gone until he became broken. How far he had, how much patience he had working with everyone, how much he was willing to sacrifice until he lost it all. It really shows that Keiwa has become damaged both physically, emotionally, and mentally by his circumstances, and it broke him. How it relates to living with him? Well, like Keiwa, Kazuhito can be an emotional person. The only difference is his sister is alive. He doesn't show it and wants to be the strong one but hides it. Both want to be strong for the people they care and love about in life, but time comes when things hit them hard. One example I can bring up is episode 6, the flashback episode. In this, Kazuhito learns about his career-ending injury, which permanently puts him out of the game of baseball. We get a moment just seeing Kazuhito cry in front of the door, saying nothing but why. And honestly, I don't blame him. Kazuhito's major hobby was baseball. The fact that the whole idea of his future came crashing down and taken away from him like that over one injury just made him just sit there, cry, and contemplate why. And I love that because it fits not only the pace of living with him, but it also just shows the emotional pain that Kazuhito is going through. Another factor you can pick up from episode 6 is it implies that Kazuhito also had baseball as a way to vent out his feelings for Natsukawa, and that he just can't get out or express properly. I love it because it shows Sato Ryuga can show hurt and be authentic with it. You really care for the characters, and if you didn't already, it solidifies that these characters deserve the respect and love they get by fans. A final moment that I think deserves recognition in the series is episode 7, where we see Kazuhito panic, trying to find Natsukawa after he visits the inn. For context, Kazuhito decided to help his mom out at the inn for the week, leaving Natsukawa alone in the apartment. When Natsukawa visits and he misses him, he panics and decides to rush to find him before he leaves. To me, this scene is the culmination of Natsukawa and what Sato Ryuga has learned from Keiwa. It shows that like Keiwa, Kazuhito will throw it all away for the people he loves. He cares too much and is willing to pull himself not only for his family, but Natsukawa, just like what Keiwa does. Living with him is not only about how two boys find love, get it? It's about how two boys learn to live with what they have. For Natsukawa, is trying to juggle life and his crush while also being in touch with his somewhat crazy family. For Kazuhito, it's about trying to find a new path in life after an injury, patching up old times with Eri, but also coming to terms with his crush with Kazuhito. And for Keiwa, it's about navigating the selfish world of Geats and try to at least be the best person you can in such circumstances. You won't be able to find world peace, and maybe scars will hurt longer than expected, but don't stop being the kind person that brightens people up. Even if the world is cruel, the fact that Keiwa still had an ideal goal to make people happy and only faltered when someone very close like his sister dies was proof that Keiwa was the most human Kamen Rider in Geats compared to the others. Keiwa is definitely one of the strongest secondary writers we've had in the Reiwa era, and I gotta say I enjoyed watching Sato Ryuga play both him and Kazuhito. While living with him is pretty slow paced, I definitely recommend it as one of my favorite cozy BL J-dramas ever.